Just beyond Saharan hidden hunters, we're continuing our journey through North Africa with a completely new mixed species enclosure for Barbary sheep and Barbary macaque. Hello everyone, welcome back to Living Desert Zoo. Over the last few episodes we've been slowly pushing deeper into the African safari, but today we're continuing the Sahara in a slightly different direction. I'm leaving sandy dunes and desert villages and heading upwards into the high Atlas Mountains. But unlike the enormous Bighorn Mountain sitting at the heart of the living desert, I don't really have the space or the elevation to build another huge mountain here. Instead, I'm going to have to create one through illusion. So, let's get started. The last episode left a difficult fork in the road. We are bordering the northeast corner of the zoo and my options are quite limited. Option A was the easy one, recreate the zoo's dromedary camel paddocks, a rather dusty enclosure with lots of metal separation gates and whatnot. You know, that's fine, we probably got the most iconic Saharan animal right there, but it didn't feel quite right. Option B was quite the drastic choice. Something I wanted in an earlier master plan of the zoo was an African mountain enclosure. Think of animals like the Hamadryas baboon, Nubian ibex, or Barbary sheep. These sheep, also known as aoudad, whichever one floats your boat, are kind of perfect to continue that hidden hunter story. Maybe a bit out there, but yeah, let's pair them with Barbary macaques, surprisingly held in like no zoos in North America, but whatever, who cares? That does give me a problem. How do you even begin designing a dual sheep and primate habitat? Something entirely new to me, and I head to Zoo Chat and, God forbid, enter the words for European zoo for once. Enter Tiergarten Schonbrunn, or the Vienna Zoo. Somehow they have the perfect solution to have that kind of flat but still sloped approach on how to deal with this. A flat California landscape is the last thing to inspire me, but praise the Austrians for this. This layered and angled rocky ridge is decorated with dead trees, accessible rock ledges, and looks amazing. We don't need a vertical mountain or need those giant faux rock walls like zoos love to do. It feels uniquely living desert because the landscape around is half the reward. Sticking with the Vienna inspiration, this idea is to replace the general feeling that of a general standard hoofstock paddock. Yes, at its heart it'll still be a sheep paddock, but there will be a few things I can do to help break that feeling. If we look at what Vienna kinda does successfully, we'll notice they'll have this ha-ha wall styled concept. You got the guests on the main path and the rocky ridge still needs to feel like a little mountain. So we can dig down, say 4 meters or something that gives us a nice vertical depth that allows a decent elevation for the ridge and keeps the macaques still safely inside. That's quite an important bit considering this is a mixed hoofstock and primate enclosure. Barbary macaques are exceptional climbers, so these standard mesh post barriers need to be topped with an anti-climb surfacing. Like those inward-facing overhangs or electric hot wires, I don't know what the living desert would do honestly, so let's just follow the Vienna example. However, these curving, hard plaster walls are not what a zoo interested in realism should attempt when working with a rolling, hilly landscape. On the guest side, sure, let's have this curving retaining wall, but the sides are traditional mesh barriers, where they slowly climb and wrap around the entire ridge. You know the most important part? You don't want to hide these. The Living Desert Zoo doesn't follow the rule that the guests don't want to see fencing and stuff, you know, like the San Diego perhaps does. Wooden back panels, service wall, service buildings and staff gates are all kinda still in clear view, so let's absolutely embrace that style. There's one other slightly weird thing I'm doing with this enclosure. Rather than keeping this rear fence completely level, I'm letting it rise and fall with the terrain. Right now, probably it looks a bit messy, but there's actually a reason for it, and it'll become more obvious when we start building the mountain. Before we get to that, a suitable holding is needed for this brand new style of enclosure. Now, especially because this is a new development, I need to think of how a modern expansion of the zoo may work, and looking at the zoo's consistent trend of modern architecture paints a pretty good picture. Desert modernism, the unique style of the local region, is something Living Desert has embraced quite heavily in recent years. Examples like the new entrance plaza, Bighorn Cafe, and even the nutrition centre follow a clear style and one I should absolutely aim to incorporate in my creative additions. So let's say we have the Barbary macaque, who ideally has an indoor day room with guest viewing and lots of climbable materials inside. Barbary Sheep are much simpler, aiming to include just a basic hoofstock barn setup. However, blending both is a slight challenge. Let's split the building into two parts. First off, the guest-facing side should be our desert modernism facade. An angled decorative roof with a warm stained wood, black trim and a skylight makes the macaque holding an attractive sight. For those interested, this was another European zoo that helped me guide through this process. At the Prague Zoo, they have this amazing hillside for both of the Barbary species, and they have a separate holding for each. On the left side, I think, the macaques have a nice holding building, which has a nice guest view of glass windows looking into their day room. Yeah, so let's imagine a guest leaving Hidden Hunters with its Algerian rural vibe, jumps into this modern rocky ridge and a striking desert-inspired house around the corner. That's exactly what I'm aiming for. Now, it would be a big mistake to make the entire Barbary house like that. The sheep are backstage, and that's where a warm white plaster wall wraps around the left side of the mountain ridge, ideally mostly hidden. It's a two-part solution. We have a realistic Barbary sheep holding separate from the macaques, and we also maintain a solid colour block because we cannot hide this building with faux rocks. Guests will know it's there, but a single colour makes it blend in a bit better. Somehow managed to miss recording basically the entire interior of the building, which is, fantastic, but thankfully we can have a quick look around it now. Macaque climbing views, 3 sheep pens, shift gates, practical materials, shipping containers, and even sand or soil dumps on the other side of the service road. Now that's a rich backstage. That's the boring part over with. Now for the main event, the rocks. This isn't just some ordinary or basic rock formation. The high Atlas Mountains at the zoo need some wow, something that really tests my skills at placing rocks. That technique we saw in Hidden Hunters is exactly the thing I was talking about. Blending faux rocks and natural rocks can create some damn fine results with a rather low piece count. The problem is, well, starting. For an authentic looking Atlas ridge, we need to think in layers and not just on a terrace-like level. I'm not aiming for the classic Planet Zoo rock pile, I'm talking strata. Yes, we all remember those earth science lessons, weathered sedimentary rocks. I hope you do. In the game, some of the best rockworks needs to embrace how real rock formations appear. So in the Atlas Mountains, we need long horizontal shelves, broken sections, overhangs, and different depths. In game terms, of course, we are talking about using the small, flat faux rock, placing it in key locations, and wrapping it in some of those natural, thin ledge rocks around them and giving yourself a pat on the back. Great, that's one part. These layers need to climb up at an angle, giving plenty of room for the sheep to walk on. Hitboxes exist, and getting sheep to climb on realistic rockwork is a never-ending challenge. They can't navigate steep rocks, but I can fake it. So if we were to remember all the landscaping I did, there was an obvious tiered hill. The lower level is the ground, and it's slowly climbed to a plateau at the back. The upper level forms the top of the ridge, allowing me to use that as effective grazing ground for the sheep. Plopping some grass paint here will do wonders and help the sheep engage in a variety of needs, even if the guests don't truly see it. Regardless, this level also needs to provide access to the upper levels of the mountain ridge. Sloped rocks remove that barrier, allowing the sheep to appear at the top of a very tall ridge, even if they really aren't. That's why that kind of 4-meter depth was needed, not just to stop macaques climbing, but to prove that even a flat desert landscape can become an immersive mountain habitat without serious investments in terraforming. Elsewhere on the ridge, we see that Vienna inspiration taking hold. On each end, we have a rocky arch adding some interesting features. On the right, we have the shallow overhang featuring a sheep feeder, while on the left, we have this rock arch the animals can pass through. Rocks on rocks stacked on top of each other, these strata layers are working beautifully, and even it is that it can hide a lot of the backstage building, especially since both are a warm muted shade. For sheep, this is excellent. I mean, we got this immersive ridge environment that sheep can access more or less about 70% of. That's all manually placed rock, none of that ugly goat mountain nonsense. There is one slight problem though. This isn't just an enclosure for sheep. For the Barbary macaque, it's not really just fancy landscaping that provides enrichment. After all, we're looking at a primate, and that means a lovely challenge of providing climbing enrichment in a mountain habitat. There are plenty of options for this. An ugly climbing frame, logs leaning against the rocks, ropes, or somehow adding trees. This build, let's take a look at something I have never done before: working in dead trees. Dead trees are typically made out of those small branches in the habitat menu. They are notorious for having awful connections and needing very precise care to make them work properly. As such, many of the workshop tree blueprints don't work for me. It might do for you, but of course I need to solve it on my end. In order for these trees to work, none of the branches can actually touch each other. As funny as that sounds, they will form a single base but will branch out from there, and from the guest perspective look like a semi-realistic tree. I don't know, maybe something like an hour of quite stressful work produced a couple of variants, some modelled after Vienna, and yes, some of my own design. The problem, yes, there's always a problem, isn't there? The macaques are shown able to climb these dead trees, but they don't care for them. Of course, the macaques can't travel across by climbing up to a dead end, pun intended. With a lot of climbing frames, I find myself needing to make a travel route giving primates a clear A to B direction. The most useful tool to address that is the climbing ropes, which is fairly easy to do. Place a few ropes in key spots in almost every dead tree, and suddenly the macaques love the trees and use them all the time. As a bonus, we have ropes that look like tied down supports for the dead trees, improving the look of the habitat at the same time. And I think this is where the mixed habitat finally starts making sense. The sheep dominate all these horizontal ledges and terraces we spent forever building, while the macaques get this completely different vertical network right above them. Two species using the same mountain in two very different ways. Structurally then, the high Atlas mountains are pretty much finished, but right now they're still looking suspiciously like a very expensive pile of desert rocks. But I don't think that needs fixed. A lush grassy mountain ridge with say agaves, dring grass and flowering plants doesn't help this in the slightest. This is a Atlas mountain environment, and it truly needs to feel like a ridgeline where Barbary sheep and Barbary macaques coexist. Now normally this is the point where I'd throw grasses, flowers and shrubs absolutely everywhere. But there is one fairly obvious problem with beautifully planting a Barbary sheep habitat: the Barbary sheep. So we're doing a lot of what real zoos do. Most of that valuable foliage stays safely on our side of the fence, while the sheep get the stuff I don't mind becoming lunch. As this is the Living Desert Zoo, I am continuing the same Californian desert scrub theme, where a bunch of assorted shrubs such as saltwort, blue stem grass, Kreuzig bush, and a few others work together to create a lush, believable North American desert experience. But if I only use California desert scrub, it starts looking less like Morocco, and more like something you'd probably find outside the highway outside Palm Springs. This is northwestern Africa, so to bring that kind of semi-arid and Mediterranean feel, I'm working with some of the more neutral trees, such as doom palms, olive trees, and most importantly, the Aleppo pine tree. This will be the only part of the zoo where we can find this pine tree, which is an amazing representative of Moroccan flora. Adding all these plants also helps break up some of the sightlines I really don't want guests to see. All those shipping containers and water tanks we added earlier are brilliant at making the backstage feel like a working zoo. They're also absolutely hideous from the guest bath. So I'm keeping all of that, I'm just making sure you can't see most of it. It's not like how the Hidden Hunters has that giant Algerian tower hiding the backstage, or having the luxury of the giraffe savannah having the distance to make an amazing rolling hill that hides their backstage. Here though, we don't have either of those luxuries, so the plant in itself becomes the scenery. Low grasses closest to enclosure, shrubs behind those, and then the taller trees breaking up the containers and surface road. And yeah, I think we can wrap this up. We've gone from a fairly awkward, empty corner beside the Hidden Hunters to something that genuinely feels like an entirely new landscape. Yes, some of us may miss the idea of camels not making it to the core Saharan area, but once I found the idea of travelling from an Algerian outpost into the rocky high Atlas ridge, it was just too good to pass up. We have Barbary sheep crossing the highest rocks, Barbary macaques crossing ropes above, and animals disappearing amongst the ridge, making this definitely among one of my most rewarding builds yet. I think this more or less finishes the rocky ridges and predators of northern Africa, from the tiny fennec foxes to Barbary sheep posing on the mountaintop. Where do we go next? Dry expanses are a favourite of Living Desert Zoo design, and so is lush grassland. But what about something soaked in water, a lush green experience? Honestly, who knows? Thanks for watching everyone, see you next time.